not going to happen?
Well, we have now a system, and the system's in place, and we have two very, very powerful alternatives that we have to take into consideration. And as I said, one of the things that has really gotten me thinking about this, number one, I'm looking at what's going on, and life is fragile, and economies are fragile. But one of the things is the mortality rate, John. When we first started this, nobody knew anything about this particular virus. Very, very little. I mean, we started, if we were hearing numbers of 5%, that's an astronomical number when the flu is 0.001 and 2 and 3, right? And so 5% would be an astronomical number. Now we're seeing numbers that may be less than 1, and that's not including the exercise that I just went through where many people don't report. So everybody getting very sick is reporting, but nobody getting, not very sick. And that should be part of that equation. So that just keeps reducing the number. So the mortality rate is that's a big, to me, that's a very big factor. When we were hearing 3 and 4%, remember we had one day where we thought it was 5%, and we were getting a lot of bad numbers from countries that, I don't know why, but we were getting a lot of bad numbers. I do wish, our relationship's very good with China, but I wish they could have told us about this a little bit sooner, that. But the mortality rate's a big thing for me because I think we're very substantially under 1% now. That's it's still terrible. It's still the whole thing. The whole concept of death is terrible. But there's a tremendous difference between something under 1% and 4 or 5 or even 3%. So that's something that we're learning now. And I think the number may be lower than people think because of what I've been saying. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, have you instructed Secretary Mnuchin and the others working on this bill with Congress to meet some of the demands the Democrats have made?
Well, I thought we had a deal last night, and then the Democrats changed the deal. So we had a deal last night that was going to be phenomenal for the workers, which is my number one aim. I want to take care of the workers. And we had a deal. I was pretty sure we had a deal last night. If you would have told me at a certain time, like about 9 o'clock, I would have told you we pretty much have a deal. And then all of a sudden it changed fairly rapidly. And, it was unacceptable. It would have been bad for our country. And they were asking for things that would have not been good. I mean, things that bore no relationship to what we're talking about. We said, that's not the game. We can't play that game. So we'll see. Look, the Democrats do want to make a deal. But, Jeff, I thought we had a deal last night.
And if you come further into this process weeks and months from now and decide that further stimulus is needed, will you be able to work with Speaker Pelosi on that?
I'll work with anybody to help the American people. I will. I don't care who it is. I'll work with anybody if I feel I'm going to help the American people and the American worker. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, some states are still reporting a shortage of materials needed to actually process the tests. So what is the administration doing to get all the states the materials that they need?
Well, you just saw the Admiral, and you just saw the FEMA people, and you just saw the Army Corps of Engineers, and, we're building hospitals in New York and California and state of Washington and New Jersey. I just made a commitment to Phil that we're going to help him out with some of the areas in New Jersey, which is very important, a great state. So we're doing a great job, and we're there to help the governors. But, the governors are on the front line, and they can do some of it themselves. Governor Cuomo, he's been working very hard, and he worked with me on the hospitals and medical centers, because it's not just hospitals, it's called hospital, and another is medical centers, of which we're building numbers for New York. And we have it all laid out. We have Javits Center, and then we have other locations throughout the state. And I think it's really a great plan. And we're going to have FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers involved. And I've worked with them. We're building a wall. We're up to over 150 miles of wall on our southern border, which is now turning out to be even more important than we originally thought. But I always thought it was very important having borders. And so I'm working with the Army Corps of Engineers, and I see what they do and how they do it, and that used to be my business, and I know it very well, and they're very professional. They're really good. So you're going to see a lot of good things happening in many states, beyond the states I just mentioned. In many states, we're working with Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. We're working with Governor McMaster, right, in South Carolina, where they have a little bit of a breakout, not by comparison, but a little bit. We're working with many governors in many states. Actually, states where you almost would think that they have it under pretty good control. They've done a great job. But we're working with many states, and that's primarily FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers. And they're capable of doing it. So.
Mr. President, back to the stimulus. Can I ask a question on behalf of my radio pool colleague, Tamara Keith from NPR?
Sure.
She asked me to ask this to you.
Sure.
You just mentioned that there were some things last night that were unacceptable, which would have been bad for the country that the Democrats were bringing into the stimulus conversation. Her question was, what provisions would you absolutely not support in this plan right now?
Well, a lot of the provisions that they wanted, like stock buybacks, I agree with that. That's good with me. I mean, I don't like them buying back stock. I like them spending money on airplanes and on their employees and their real business, not buying back stock. And I don't know if that provision is going to be put in one way or the other, but I'm all for it. And many Republicans, I can tell you, are for it, and I think many Democrats are for it. But they were putting that out like it was a problem last night. Not a problem for me, I can tell you that. Please.
I also want to know, how much would you want in cash relief directly for Americans? What number would you like to see?
Well, I think what you're talking about right now is at least $3,000 per family of four. Isn't that correct? $3,000 for a family of four, which is bold. And if this continued, we have to build this up. And if this continued, we'll do something else, and we'll do more at a later date. But that's a big number. If you remember, they were talking about $500 and $600. And we are all for that. As of this moment, it's $3,000 for a family of four. Please, go ahead.
When you're looking at some of the economic headwinds that we're facing, I'm wondering if one of the things you're concerned about is the strength of the dollar, and if there's that we should do to address that, including
Well, we have a very strong dollar, and you know a strong dollar is good in many ways, but it's also tough in many ways because it makes trade much harder. It makes it much harder for Caterpillar Tractor and other companies to sell their goods to Europe or China or wherever they may be sold. So having a strong dollar is good, but it really sounds good. But the truth is it makes certain things like trade much tougher. And our dollar, I don't know if you've seen, but our dollar's remained very strong, especially against other currencies, very strong, which, again, makes that trading more difficult. But there's something nice about having a strong dollar, right? You know, no matter what. A president, it's nice to have a strong dollar. But it does make trading more difficult.
Just to go back to stimulus, you're confident you're going to get a deal?
Well, I think the Democrats want a deal, and I think we want a deal. So it would be very foolish if they didn't make a deal. The American public is demanding a deal. I can tell you the Republicans want to make a deal, and we want to make a deal that's good for the workers, good for the country. And I really believe the Democrats want to make a deal, but they have to stop asking for things that bear no relationship to what we're talking about.
You've had a lot of laudatory things
That are
to say.
actually bad, that are actually not good for the country.
You've been very laudatory to the Democratic governor. You mentioned Governor Cuomo. You mentioned some others.
Yeah.
If you get a stimulus bill, I'm wondering if you'll extend this bipartisan goodwill to Speaker Pelosi and invite her here for a signing ceremony.
Well, let's see what happens. I have to see what happens. Right now, we don't have a deal, but I think we're very close. I mean, when I left, which was quite a while ago now, because again, we're trying to answer every question, so there's no, it'd be nice if you were just exhausted and said, that's it, we can't do anymore, but there's always hands up. But, and maybe one of those questions is great and unique. But, no, look, I want what's good for the country. And if that means meeting, I think that's great. I just want what's good for the country, great for our workers, great for the citizens of the United States. That's all it's
When's
been.
the last time you spoken with Pelosi?
Well, it's been a little while. Yeah, please.
Both you and the Vice President have been tested for the virus. Also, Mrs. Pence. Has the First Lady been tested?
Yes,
And?
she's great. She's fine.
Negative?
Negative. Okay, negative.
One of the sticking points on the stimulus, who's going to hold Treasury accountable for this $500 billion corporate rescue fund?
Well, you need that to help all of these companies that have a chance of not being companies anymore. And that's going to be a good thing for the country because deals will be made, and we're talking to certain people, some of the greatest people in the history of Wall Street, frankly, where when they do a deal, we'll have stock for America. We'll take back stock for the United States. At the same time, most important, we'll keep those companies healthy. But we can also make incredible deals for the country so that number will increase exponentially. I mean, this is a great
The
thing.
fund is about the lack of oversight. The Treasury having this unilateral authority to dole out all of this money.
Well, look, I'll be the oversight. I'll be the oversight. We're going to make good deals. We make good deals. But these companies need it. Even if it was just a simple loan, which would be, but we can do better than that. And the companies are willing to do better than that. I mean, they got hit. Most of these companies, it was through no fault of their own. There are a couple where it was, they were troubled before they came in. We talked about one. It had trouble. Nobody can believe it, actually, in that one. But these companies are, through no fault of their own, they have difficulty. I mean, 2 weeks ago, these companies were among the most solid institutions in the world. You'd want to buy their bonds. Their bonds were rated AAA or whatever their highest rating is today. And now all of a sudden they have difficulty because they've been closed up. So you need something to keep them going. But that money is not going to be wasted money. That money is going to be seen, and we could multiply that number by many times coming back to the American public. That could be a phenomenal thing. But most importantly, it's going to keep these great engines of jobs and ingenuity going. Very important. Yeah, how about one or two more? We'll go. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Are there things you regret in the way you've handled the crisis so far? Are there words you regret?
I don't think so. I'm looking forward. I don't look back. I guess there's always something everybody regrets. There are things in your life you regret. We all regret things, but I really like to look forward. I'm a person that looks a forward thinker, I guess they would say. No, I think that we've handled it really well. It seems to be the American public thinks that we've handled it well if you look at polling data. But I'm not interested in myself. I'm interested in the American people. We have to get this going. We have millions and millions of jobs that were solid as a rock 3 weeks ago, and today there could be questions. And the faster we get it going, the more likely it is that those stores, little businesses, big businesses, medium-sized businesses open up. And we'll get it going very fast. I really believe this is a pent-up demand. I think that as soon as we say, let's go, and it's going to be pretty soon. It's going to be pretty soon. It's going to be sooner than people would think. We're in a position to take care of our country, but at the same time to have the country really go up like a rocket ship economically, and that's great for jobs. It's great for everything else. Yeah.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask a question for a colleague who can't be in the room because of social distancing.
For who?
A colleague who can't be in the room because of our social distancing about Florida. He wanted me to ask, should Governor DeSantis have closed all of the beaches in his state?
Well, that's really up to the governor. I mean, I think, first of all, he's a great governor. He's done an incredible job, Governor DeSantis of Florida. And on the beaches, I guess he's recently made a decision, but you do have a lot of room on the beaches, and I think it's just a decision that he made originally, and then he's refined it, and then he's done something that a lot of people agree with what he's done. But he's done a lot of things right. And he's been truly, he cares so much about health care. He cares so much about the cost of prescription drugs. He's been a fantastic governor for Florida. They're very happy with him. The whole concept of the beach, it's a very interesting issue. There are a lot of open spaces that includes parks and other things, but rather than relying on social distancing, they're probably going to do that one a different way. But I would imagine when we make our decision, things like that would be opened up. And then people will remember what they're supposed to be doing. Well, I want to thank everybody very much, and we'll see you tomorrow sometime, and we'll get this going, I think, really well. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Do it tomorrow.
President Trump saying that his administration working hard on a plan for the nation to get back to business once that is something they can do. Cannot let the cure be worse than the problem in this situation. Also talked about the less severity of COVID-19 in children and some of the research that came back from Europe. 99% of the mortality in Europe was in people who were 50 or older with an underlying condition. Also, another interesting note about coronavirus, the attack rate of coronavirus in the New York area is 5 times higher than any other place that has been studied. And the First Lady has been tested for coronavirus and tested negative. We'll have much more on those developments and also on the government.